Hello, welcome back to Try and Test It. I'm Elaine and this is part 1 on how to build a Canvas app based on the language set on your mobile application. Now before I get started, I want to let you know that I have added timecode in the description below, so be sure to check them out. Now before I get into the details, let me first show you what we want to achieve here. So now what I've done here is I have gone to the settings and I have changed my phone language to Bahasa Melayu, which is Malay. And now I'm going to go to the app I built and I expect the app to be in Malay as well. So I'm going to go here to my Power Apps and open the app that I've built. So what I've done in this app is I have made sure that all the controls in the app is following the phone language. So as you can see, the header here is called Suapan Twitter. It's actually in Malay. And all the dynamic text, which are the tweets that been pulled from my Twitter account, is still in original language. But when I click into it, I'm able to translate the tweet according to the language of my phone. So as again you see here, the control says Terjemah tweet, which means translate tweet is in English. And when I click on it, it will translate my tweet to Malay. So it says translated to MSNY, which is Malay. And now, well, the tweet is already in Malay. So for today's episode, I'm going to show you how to dynamically translate the text into the language of a phone, which is how we build this translate tweet or terjemah tweet button. So let's get started. To do the on-demand translation, we will need to use the Microsoft Translator connector. So to do that, the first thing I will have to add a connector to my Power Apps. All I need to do is go to Data, and from here I could add the connector. As you can see, I already have the connector added, but I'll just show you how to do it. So if you click on Data, and over here, if you scroll down, you can see all the connectors available for Power Apps. What you need to do is just do a search for Translator. And you can see two different connectors here. One is just a translator and one is Translator V2. So Microsoft Translator is already deprecated. We have to use the Microsoft Translator V2. All you need to do is to click on this connector and you can add it in. So it will ask you for the subscription key, but if you do not have one, it's okay. Just click next and you're able to add to it. So the difference of having a subscribe and non-subscribe one is that there are some limitations. One of it would be you're not able to translate more than 55,000 characters in a day. I'll put a link below if you want to read more about this translator. So Microsoft Translator V2 provide 3 different actions. The first one is called languages. So for Microsoft Translator languages, you're able to see what are the supported languages. The second one would be Microsoft Translator Translate action. So that will allow you to translate the text. And the third one would be detect, which it allows you to detect the language of the text. So first I'm going to go through Microsoft Translator language action just to show you all the languages that is supported by the translator services. So first of all, I'll just go to the tree view here and I'll just enter a screen. I'll just quickly create a screen over here. And I'll create a data table because it's a Microsoft Translate returns both the language name and the language code. So I'll insert a table so you can see all the language name and code that is returned. Now all I need to do is select Translator V2 on the items and then I'll call the languages action. And over here, I could edit the column. I'll insert all the columns available, which is both the code and the name. There's some error over here. Let's just see what's the problem. Oh, I need to put in the scope. So just copy the scope as text. To use this parenthesis, and there you go. If I run it, I'll be able to see all the languages that is supported by this service. So as you can see here, there is both the code and the name. When you send in the language that you want to translate to, you have to send in the code and not the name. So if you want to do like a specific translation language that you want to specify, make sure that it is in this list so that the text can be translated to the language that you want. Now let me show you how you can use this Microsoft Translator Translate action to translate the text on your app based on the language settings on your phone. So the first thing you need to do is obviously to know what is the phone language that has been set up. So to do that, I'll go to my very first screen in the app, which is my screen Twitter feed. And on the onVisible property, I call a function called language to get the phone language, and I store it into a global variable where I'll use to pass this back into this Microsoft Translator connector so that it will know what language to translate to. Now, next thing, I just need to move on to my screen detail. So over here is where all the magic happens just now. So I have a translate tweet. So this could be a button or it could be a label. And all I need to do is I need to trigger the translator services. So when I click on this translate tweet, I want to pass in the text that I want to translate as well as the language I want to translate to. So if you look at the formula I have over here, what it does is on select, which means on click of this button, I will call Microsoft Translator V2 translate action, and I will pass in the global language that I have set in the beginning on the first form. So right when the app just starts, I already captured the language, the phone language. I'll pass it through the translation service, and then I also pass in the text that I want it translated. So in this case, the text is stored in this label tweet.text, which is this text over here. And what it's doing is that I'm telling the translator, hey Microsoft Translator, can you translate the text in this tweet label into the phone language of the user? And then I'm gonna take the translated value, the text that is translated, I'm gonna store it into another variable called content so that I can display it in the text box or label that I want to. And I've added some additional stuff over here, which is concatenating translated to language so that I can display what language is being translated to in the text as well. So for those of you who are familiar with Microsoft Translator, the previous version, you know that you could actually translate a label without an action triggering the service. So you could just put this formula onto a label or onto a text, and it will automatically translate it to the language that you specify. But with this V2 version, you could not do that. You need to trigger the service. So you always have to trigger it from a button or an icon, and then you have to store it into a variable to display it. Now let me just quickly run through how it works. I'll just play this app and we'll select a text, probably this one, in the Arabic language. So we have the text over here, and when I click translate to it, because my laptop settings is in English, so I expect it to be translated to English. See how it says translated to English, and then it translated the text to English. So that's really easy. Now lastly, I'm going to show you how to use the detect action to detect the language of the text. So now let's say we want to detect the language of this text. First thing I'm going to do is to create a button. And I'll just name my button detect over here. And then I'm also going to create a label to display the output of the action. So I'll just create this label. This is called label 1. I'm going to remove the text because this is going to be displaying the variable that I use to store the output. Now on the detect, on select, similarly, I will trigger Microsoft Translator. And I'll call the detect action, and over here I will want to input this text. So the label for this text is label tweet. So I'm just gonna put label tweet dot text because it's expecting a text value, so you have to use dot text. And then I'm gonna store this into a variable. So I'm going to create a variable called translated text. And I'm going to spit out the translated text into this label. So on the text, I'm going to say translated text. I'm going to remove the caps. Make sure that we remove this parenthesis here as well, because or else it will read it as a text string. So yeah. And okay, so it returns a table, so I have to specify which column I want to display. So I want to display the name, which is the language name. Remember previously in the language table, you saw that it returns name and code. So similarly, when it detects the language, it also returns the name and the code. I can also do this. Can display both. Translated text dot code. Now we'll run this, and I'm gonna detect. I think I have a problem in my formula. I shouldn't use double N. I should just use one N because double N is a boolean. And there you go. So this is Arabic language. So that's how easy you can translate your app on demand based on your phone language. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. And if you're looking forward to part 2, please hit subscribe and you'll be notified when the video is out. And for more Power Apps accessibility content, I left the link to my playlist at the top of the video and in the description below. Till next time, bye!